Thank you for sticking around on a Tuesday. I know we all got flights to catch, so I want to entertain you and maybe give some information about AI. The gist of it is everything you've seen from Ben and from others talking about AI and all those case studies, that's all true. All of that is actually happening. AI and software will eat the world. So it's a question of where and how you want to deploy it and what you think is best for your operations. Cool. I want to give you some examples of what we're seeing firsthand. Then also along with that, not just show and tell about cool things, but maybe, hey, look, as you do some of these use cases, watch out for the following. So kind of the warnings, right? So first and foremost, a framework, and I'm not going to go through this, but I'm putting this in the deck in case anyone wants the deck. I'm happy to send this to them. This gives you a framework. The traditional learning, that's kind of where Netflix is seeing how, what movies to recommend to you. But then the neural networks and the deep learning there on the right, that's where the GenAI is. And as we've seen with ChatGPT in the last year, there's been a real Cambrian explosion of a bunch of startups. Everybody and their dog is using some sort of GenAI thing. A lot of them are frankly just skating on top of ChatGPT, specific to a specific industry or a specific use case or something like that. Cool. I'm not sure all these startups are going to survive, but a lot of them will, right? AI and GenAI pretty much is just kind of if you assigned a number to all the words in the English dictionary or all the words in the Chinese dictionary, you then create a vector database. And so as you would see with the word lipstick, all these other words are very close because they've got numerically similar words, right? All GenAI is doing is finding the most efficient vector path through that cloud of words. That's why when you ask ChatGPT a question, it's giving you the statistically, literally the statistically numerically most common answer. Great if you're asking it to write a poem about your dog, something like that. Bad if you're asking it to dissect your company's financials or any sort of private information. We'll get into that in a second. Okay. All right, so some 10 real-world use cases. First things first, GenAI and AI are being used throughout the restaurant industry already. It's already everywhere. You're just maybe not seeing it because a lot of companies don't brag about it, or as we've seen in this conference, they're using it on the back of the house or in operations or in logistics or just, things are just more efficient, right? Is that AI? Yes. You see it? No, right? There are thousands of successful use cases here. Here's some specific cases. Site build out, procurement, supply logistics, marketing, kitchen, service operations. And this is my interpretation of the restaurant product chain, right? There are point solution AI providers in the site build out and the procurement. There's huge potential upside in the kitchen. The marketing is what's getting all the press, because that's where ChatGPT is, that's where DALL-E is, that's where Midjourney is, that's very sexy. That's very easy for all of us to just kind of interact through our browser, right? So that gets all the attention. The real money, I would argue, is in the kitchen, right? So, my images aren't there. That's weird. All right, so first things first, site selection and machine learning. Basically, there are some point solutions and some SaaS providers out there that will use AI to do site selection. The caveat here is that if you don't have at least 500 or 600 doors, you don't have enough data to really trust that answer. As we know, AI, the more data you give it, the better the answer, the more accurate the answer. I think the other challenge here is that site selection is a moving target, because as soon as there's a new bus stop or as soon as there's a new subdivision or something like that, the whole microeconomics of the region change. So careful, right? Where are all the images? No? Did not make it? Damn, I had all sorts of great generated images, but all right, well, never mind. Use your imaginations. Sorry, ghost kitchens. And we'll get to this in a second. Ghost kitchens, AI, again, back for the images. We all know the ghost kitchens, quality control is the biggest challenge there. Whatever ghost kitchen you use, are they using cameras on the plating stations to check for quality? Basically, are they counting the pepperonis on the pizza before they go out? That would be the thing that I would look for. All right, food supply logistics. Again, Amazon took what was a huge cost center, the warehouse, the supply chain, and they've now turned it into a revenue center. Amazon makes millions and millions of dollars because they've used AI everywhere to make this entire food supply chain and every supply chain much more efficient. And that's through robotics and AI and vision and automatic packing and picking. The thing to watch for here, if you're looking for this, is response time. Basically, we worked on a project where all these robots were running around the warehouse and all that, but the robots had to go all the way to the cloud to get their next instruction and back. Round trip time, 2 to 3 seconds? No, way too long. Especially for a robot in a warehouse with other robots running around. It all just kind of came to a screeching halt. Response time in the AI has to be local, in the warehouse or in your kitchen or in the store, something like that, and then you can get response times under less than 50 milliseconds, for example. Okay? Stockroom monitoring and promotion monitoring. Here we're counting donuts with computer vision. We can see that they're all counted. We can see that there's an empty space there. Here again, response time, the key data point here is, do you know how many donuts are going on and all that? Is your donuts daily count tied to your ERP system? Is it tied to your overall order system? Is it tied to your overall corporate-wide statistical view? Because then that way, as a chain, you can just kind of see the overall performance patterns. And again, to reiterate the point, AI is very good at finding patterns. So the computer vision here, we're not looking at customer faces and all that. We're literally just counting donuts. We're looking for patterns. We're looking for overall performance on a macro level and a micro level because, look, there is a hole there, right? We are counting hot dogs in a convenience store. And essentially, you know, it's 11:30. You don't have enough hot dogs in the rollers. We know those take 30 minutes to cook, right? Lunchtime is coming. So we're going to send an alert to the store manager, right? Hey, dude, you better get some more hot dogs on the roller, right? Here again, here to my point, we're counting pizzas, we're counting pepperonis. We're seeing wait times from the ghost kitchen. How long have these orders been sitting there? You know, is there a problem with pickup? Is there a problem with something like that? By the way, that image is generated. In fact, all but 3 images in this entire presentation were all generated with AI, okay? Marketing, GenAI. This is where we're most familiar with. ChatGPT to write text, or Midjourney or DALL-E to generate images. I used this one. I asked it for an astronaut drinking a Coca-Cola on the space station. Cool, but brand tracking, and we'll get into this in a sec. Well, let me show you some more examples here. I asked for a young family enjoying a nice steak dinner in a fancy restaurant. Those images look good, right? Kind of a little bit illustrated, but if you squinted and if this were in a magazine and all that, you could get away with this being in photos. Lifestyle imagery. There's no branding, there's no writing here. It's nice, it works. A young family eating a nice dinner at Whataburger. The robot, the AI got the colors right, because Whataburger is orange. And by the way, I'm Texan, so I'm legally obligated to mention Whataburger, right? It got the colors right. I don't know what this family's doing. They're enjoying the sunset over the airport more than their burger. But notice there's no Whataburger anywhere. It does not understand the logo because the general Midjourney AI is just going over the whole planet, right? It knows that Whataburger equals orange. It doesn't know the W. It doesn't know the specific branding. However, Coca-Cola, it does know the American flag and it does know Coca-Cola. Why? Because that is the strongest brand on the planet. That cursive sign there has been around for 100 years and it has not changed. That red is Coca-Cola red. The AI knows what Coca-Cola looks like. But if you notice, it doesn't, the little print up above, can't read it. It only knows the Coca-Cola as a design. So the lesson here is that if you're going to use GenAI for imaging, don't use the public engines because it's just going to give you the statistical average, right? Coca-Cola works. I would say Nike will probably work. Budweiser, maybe. I doubt it. It's too complex, right? If you want to use imaging, you're going to want to use your own brands, use your own engine with Stable Diffusion or some of these other engines, bring them in-house and privately train your own in-house AI, right? And we've done that, by the way, for some brands. That way, your branding will be consistent. Okay. Just an example, I think we saw some other examples a second ago and yesterday. This is a store in China. And that's all GenAI, and it's being user submitted by people, and so it's just constantly changing. Very cool experience. Next case study, store management. This is, I think you might have all seen this video. We're tracking how long have people been sitting there and who's producing how many cups of coffee. A little intrusive, but again, for operations, for efficiency, very insightful. We can count which tables are open, which ones are occupied, which ones are dirty. Here's a couple examples. We can see the spill on the floor. And again, we're not looking at faces. We don't care about faces. We're not trying to invade anyone's privacy. We're just trying to make operations more efficient, right? And so that spill on the floor, that would go to the manager. Hey, careful, you've got a wet zone, right? Or you've got a spill. Drive-through. We can read license plates. We're doing this with a convenience store in Europe, and we can do this here. I think Ben or some others, Phil had talked about, that the lawyers would freak out if we're reading license plates. Maybe, yeah, maybe. In my opinion, people are just going to have to go through that Starbucks once or twice and have their order more efficient and all that, and they're not going to worry about their license plate being read. That's my personal opinion, right? But we could increase throughput dramatically because we now know 4 or 5 cars deep who's got what's coming, and so you could queue up that engine a lot more efficiently. A drive-through, this would be a demo. I'm not going to go through that, but basically if you're doing QSR drive-through with AI with the chatbot, and this would be a chatbot where you actually just speak to the robot and it can filter out the crying baby at the back seat and you can ask it any sorts of questions. The thing to watch for here is if this chatbot has to go all the way to the Google Cloud and back, your response time will not be fast enough. The AI should be local on an edge server in the restaurant, and the AI should be processing that. We're doing that, and we've got a response time under 50 milliseconds. Again, all that cloud back and forth, you're now beholden to Verizon's response times. I don't want to do that. Customer support. Our friends from Taziki's were using this, right, to answer all those customer feedback things. Yes, you can absolutely do that. You can train it on your own brand voice. Here's an example where any sort of complex documents, remember ChatGPT not only can generate text, it can summarize text. So feed it text and ask it to summarize this for you and give you the bullet points and then give you the proposed email answer back or out to the customer, whoever that might be, and then it can actually generate it. So there's 2 halves to ChatGPT. Not only can it generate text, it can actually analyze text and give you a summary and then feed that back to you and then generate the text back out to your customer support people, right? Training. Training's a big issue. We all know that labor is an ongoing challenge. We all know that training is a challenge. TikTok, yes, use ChatGPT to generate quizzes. And these can be tailor-made to the person's level or whatever that might be. It can be generating the videos, it can be generate the quizzes also, all that can be generated. By the way, that image is also generated. And last but not least, ChatGPT and GenAI, GenAI is very, very good at generating computer code because it's set, it's very tangible, or it's very kinds of ones and zeros, right? Literally. So if you've got app development or if you've got a challenge there on getting your apps or your IT done faster, look to GenAI to help you develop code. Now, some generalizations. As I had mentioned earlier, if you're using GenAI, is the GenAI generated on your own private data? Are the results your own private data? Do not use ChatGPT. You want to bring that in-house. You want your own McDonald's GPT. I get to use them. Camera placement throughout the store. You can use GenAI to count the pepperoni on the plating thing. You can use it to count the tables, as we all seen. So as you're designing these stores, give some conscious thought on where you might want to put cameras. More cameras is better because that all becomes computer data. That all feeds the AI. You get a better experience all around. Remora, the little sucker fish that go along with the sharks, right? There's a lot of GPT startups out there that when you push them a little bit, all they're really doing is it's just a nice UX on top of ChatGPT. But sometimes the engine is important. Did you know that the Volkswagen and a Porsche have the same engine mounts? Right? So sometimes the experience, the UX is important, right? So when you're looking for a Gen AI engine, maybe that UX, even though if it's just kind of a skin on top of the engine, maybe that is important to you. Some AI guidelines, I'm not going to go through these because we're running out of time, but essentially Some GenAI is good to go with a point solution. Other GenAI you want to bring in-house and do your own private thing. And here's some considerations for those, right? I think that's it. Thank you.
Wonderful, Dave. Any questions at all? We got time for one. If someone, oh yeah, here we go, Juliana.
Thank you. Super simple question. A number of the watchouts you'd called out referenced result hallucinations. What is that?
Yeah, hallucination is when, thank you, good question. A GenAI hallucination is when it doesn't have enough data to answer the question, so it makes one up. It hallucinates. For example, well, if we were to go back, like that visually, that astronaut drinking the Coke, right? Did you see? It knows that there's words above the word Coca-Cola, but it doesn't know what they are. It's hallucinating. Ugh, there's something here, I don't know, right? That also does that with words, too. You can ask it a question, are the ATMs open after 9 p.m.? It doesn't know, yeah, sure, right? That's basically what happens, right? Thank you.
There's concerns around privacy, Dave, and sort of the intrusiveness that's perceived by sort of customers and other stakeholders. How do you sort of advise chains or the groups that you work with on that? Like, I mean, how do you get around that? And do you think there's just going to be a natural progression as we get used to these things and care less about them, kind of similar to like social media and privacy?
Yes, great question. Thank you. We as a tech provider, we do not want to be held liable. So we absolutely will. We can track gender. I mean, so we're doing this in airport security. We know general age bracket, toddler, teenager, adult, old person. We also know gender, again, based by gait and by kind of clothes and body, body shapes, right? So we know that. We as a tech provider, we don't want to hold on to that information because, again, we'd be liable. The airport just wants summary numbers. They don't want faces because then they don't want to be liable. To an answer to your question, the lawyers are writing this the same, it's not the same, but it's an extension of the same data privacy laws that have existed between customers and corporations that have been in place for 50 years. Those are just getting extended. So basically, nobody wants that data because the privacy risk is way too high. So they're going to be finding genders and body types and age brackets. Great, that's helpful, but faces, no, nobody wants that.
Okay, great. Look, wonderful. Thank you so much, Dave Jenkins.